What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Eye on the U, our Miami Herald show about all things University of Miami Hurricanes. Put the Orange Bowl backdrop for all of you nostalgic people out there like me that missed the old stadium. This back from probably the late '90s, early 2000s, making me feel old because my colleague, my co-host Jordan McPherson, 2000. I know I was there I was there at UM, but you were what at that point?
I was 5 going on 6.
Oh
So
my God! Why do I bring this up? Why do I torment myself?
you do this to yourself, Andre. You
I
do
do
this
this
to
to
yourself
myself. I'm
every single
masochistic
week.
like that. I must be. But anyway, we're back for another show, talking a lot of Cam Ward, talking to some stuff about Pro Day. Jordan was there watching Cam Ward throw the ball, impress the scouts as he pretty much solidifies the number one, probably being the number one draft pick of the Tennessee Titans from the looks of things. But we'll talk a lot about that in this episode. We'll also go over Miami's other draft prospects and kind of where they stand, what the evaluators are saying up to this point right now as we approach the draft, about a month to go before things kick off in Green Bay. Xavier Restrepo came out and told people kind of what happened with his 40 time the other day. Sounds like he was a little bit hurt before it happened, kind of slowed him down. So we'll go over what happened there. And also the latest on spring ball, just a kind of a glimpse, hard to gauge, obviously, when they're just going against each other, but, some glimpses as to what has kind of stood out so far in the spring season. We're getting close to the first real scrimmage of the spring coming this weekend. The trenches seem to be a strength early on, so we'll talk a little bit about that. But let's start with Pro Day and your thoughts, Jordan. A lot of people have chimed in and talked about how Cam Ward looked, but how do you look to you that day?
Yeah, I mean, Cam Ward, he looked like the Cam Ward that we saw all of last season. Confident. Some can say cocky, but you can tell that he knows where he stands. He knew that even just going into the day that he felt like he already had the spot as going 1-1 solidified. But this was just basically an icing on the cake type deal. When you look at who was there were about 100 representatives between scouts and front office members combined from all 32 teams. The Titans basically had every person of importance there. And from what Cam Ward said, that was the first time they got to see him live because he didn't throw at the Combine. He didn't throw at the Combine. He didn't do anything at the Senior Bowl. So Pro Day was the first time that these teams got to see him throw live in these offseason pre-draft settings. And he definitely looked the part. He was just out there. It looked like he was just out there having fun, like it was another old practice, taking snaps from Zach Carpenter, throwing to Restrepo, Jacoby George, Sam Brown, Elijah Arroyo. And there was one moment that really stood out to me where Ward drops back in the pocket, spins around, throws a deep pass to Xavier Restrepo, a perfect dime. And as he's running after throwing the pass, runs right past the Tennessee Titans scouts. And essentially looks at them and goes, "I'm solidifying my spot, huh?" And it was just like, okay, Cam, you're doing you. And again, that's the vibe, that's the aura, that's the type of that you want in your future starting quarterback. I mean, we'll see where it goes, but it looks like if Tennessee goes quarterback at 1-1, Cam's looking like it's going to be the guy.
Yeah, and honestly, he's the type that I think all of those ingredients. Why not take the chance? Because just one football fan's opinion right now. If you're on the quarterback position right now, take a chance because this could be the next big star. He could be the next big star in the NFL or one of the these next wave of quarterbacks. And then you have a franchise guy that can elevate your team and get you back to where you want to be, back to where you were a few years ago before things kind of fell apart in Tennessee. So why wouldn't you right there? I mean, you love that brash as long as he can back it up and as long as he can handle the adjustment to the next level. I mean, those are the kind of things I guess we'll see, in the coming, months and years.
And I completely agree. And the thing with Cam Ward is, he's always going to have that chip on his shoulder. Again, you look back to just his story, his journey from the college. Remember, zero-star recruit, barely recruited out of high school in Texas, had to go to the FCS level of Incarnate Word for 2 seasons, then goes to Washington State, plays pretty well for those 2 years, and then even then, the draft evaluators were like, maybe late day 2, early day 3, and at that point he was like, okay, well, why do that when I can play one more year and show everybody what I already know? Then goes to Miami and basically breaks every single record that could be broken for a quarterback in a single season at UM. career single season record for completions, 305. Single season record for passing yards, 4,313. Passing touchdowns, 39. Completion percentage, 67.2%. UM's first Heisman Trophy finalist since 2002. We can just keep going on and on. 300-yard games, yada, yada, yada. And to see just what he was able to do in 1 year. And again, carried that offense to being the top offense in the nation last season. Him doing all of that in 1 year at the biggest stage of his college career, going from, compared to, I mean, as good as he was at Washington State, it was still Washington State. For him to do it at Miami, to do it for a team that ultimately, once he got here, the expectations basically went through the roof, where, again, they were picked among the favorites to win the ACC. He was picked as the preseason player of the year right off the jump. And he lived up to every single expectation that was given to him. And even then, his thought process was, okay, I did all this, but there's still so much more I can do. I still could do this better. I can still do that better. And when I asked him at Pro Day, going, okay, because Pro Day was a month to the day before the draft, and I asked him, is this sinking in yet? And he went, a little bit, but for me, I'm just more excited to know where I'm going so I can fully just look at one playbook and try to get one playbook mastered. He goes, right now I'm looking at 3, 4, 5 different playbooks, just trying to make sure that wherever I go, I'm ready when I jump in. And once this draft happens, once my name's finally called, I can just hone in on one. And the fact that he's already thinking that far ahead just gives you a little bit more insight into what he is and how he approaches his day-to-day business and how he tries to make sure he's as prepared, as ready as he can be in order to be ready for when things actually start up for him in the NFL.
Yeah, and funny you mentioned that too, because even during his college career, he wasn't able to really stick to one playbook for too long, so you haven't really seen, like, it's not like he ran the same offense for 4 or 5 years in a row. So once he get in the NFL and he gets that first at least 4 years with a team or more, it's going to be interesting to see how much better he gets little by little. And it's not far-fetched. I mean, Tennessee's not completely barren of talent. They're going to try to surround him with pieces, I'm sure, obviously. And we've seen the effect. If you pick the right guy in the NFL, we've seen that you can have an immediate impact. We saw it with C.J. Stroud in Houston. We've seen a bunch of examples of that in recent years. So, hey, maybe Cam Ward gets to Tennessee and suddenly, maybe we're not thinking Super Bowl overnight or anything like that, but could elevate them to the depths that they've sunk to in the last year or so, to maybe being, who knows, maybe even a playoff contender if it's the right fit.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And then just a little bit to wrap up with Cam, just the historic factor of if he goes 1-1 for what that means for the Hurricanes.
Yes. I was going to bring that up. Well, not since Vinny Testaverde, Vinny Testaverde.
Yeah, Vinny Testaverde is the only other UM quarterback to go 1-1. And UM's only had 2 players overall go 1-1, because Russell Maryland went to the Cowboys first overall in 1991.
Great Russell Maryland, yep.
And then Vinny Testaverde and Jim Kelly are the only quarterbacks from Miami to go in the first round, period. Kelly going 14th overall of the Bills in 83. And then, Dre, when was the last time UM had a first round pick, period?
Since Rousseau, my fellow Champagnat.
Not just Rousseau and Jalen Phillips.
Right.
But 2021, they've gone 3 consecutive drafts without having anybody go in the first round. So at the minimum, that part's getting broken.
But the quarterback, the quarterback's notable because it shows you that it's been a while since Miami had a quarterback like a Cam Ward that could really, at that level, that played at that level, that projects at that level. And, looking at those guys, I mean, Jim Kelly, as we know, Hall of Famer. Vinny Testaverde, not Hall of Famer, but had a good career, a lengthy career in the NFL. So is Cam Ward the next one that plays 10, 15 years, and who knows what kind of success he could have? We'll see. I mean, it'd be great to see for him, especially, the journey you mentioned that he took to get there. It'd be fun to watch. It's going to be fun to watch no matter where he ends up being, assuming now that it is Tennessee, see that development in the next couple of years. So
yeah, no, definitely be fun to watch. And again, we're just under a month away. Draft starts April 24th. So we're finally under that mark, and then get to see where he goes and just how the rest of this Canes draft class ends up shaking out.
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit about that. Let's go now. We'll start with Xavier Restrepo, which was the one that people were kind of like, what's up with his time? Why was he kind of below what we're used to out of him? But he came out and posted kind of what happened. Sounds like the hamstring kind of grabbed on him a little bit just before he ran it. So I guess Jordan, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, we've seen what Xavier Restrepo can potentially bring to an NFL team, not just the speed factor, but the hands, the route running, everything. Does this in any way, hurt his draft stock, do you think, or is it a blip and people kind of look past it?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would basically say if you want to see what Xavier Restrepo brings, just look at the film, especially these last 2 years. But to go with the 40-yard thing, he unofficially, NFL Network reported him running a 4.82 and a 4.83 during his 2 runs at the 40. Restrepo, he posted on X on Tuesday night that his hamstring tightened up during warmups, and that, quote, prohibited him from opening up and running his fastest. He said that the couple weeks before leading up to Pro Day, he was consistently running around between a 4.53 and a 4.58, which is more in line with what you would expect from Restrepo. Right. And just the reason that he decided to still run it even after hamstring tying up is just simply he's a competitor. And we've seen that from him his entire career. I mean, his first 3 years, he was basically just fighting just to get playing time. And then all of a sudden, his last 2 years, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, his junior year, he has the single season career catch records. Last 2 years combined, becomes the first guy to ever have consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. Set the school record for career catches, career receiving yards, 4th overall in career receiving touchdowns. And he is the epitome of a slot receiver. Again, he makes all the catches up the middle of the field. Anything that's inside his catch radius, you just expect him to be able to make the catch. We've seen him make some freakishly athletic plays. I still go back to that season opener against Florida where he's running up the middle and ends up leaping backwards to catch a pass over the back of his head. He had to play against Virginia Tech where he slips on a route, falls, and still ends up making the catch. Yeah. And there were at least 2 or 3 others I'm forgetting, and it's just like watching him. It's like, okay, what catch can't he make?
Right.
And for me, yes, the 4.8 running the 4.8, that's rough. That's not ideal, but I'm assuming when he meets with teams, when he does his individual team meetings throughout the next month, I'm sure that's not going to be as much of an impact.
Yeah.
I still think that he could probably go somewhere late day 2, whether it's late 2nd round or somewhere in the 3rd round. And if not, he's going to be off the board early day 3, 4th round. I feel like is the floor for him.
He's going to be a solid addition to any offense in the NFL, even if it's, like you said, like a slot receiver just to complement a team that maybe is loaded. Even if he goes somewhere, maybe that a team that's already loaded at the position, why not? He's going to be that guy that's going to spread that defense and just open up chances for himself and for everybody around him. And there's more than enough proof, like you just mentioned, to show the scouts that was an anomaly. That was a unfortunate setback at that day because of what was happening to him. So I think people know the package that they're getting if they draft Xavier Restrepo, so he should be fine. But who else kind of stood out, do you think, on Pro Day? There's a lot of other Canes that could be drafted next month.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm going to start with the position that usually doesn't get talked about. I'm going to go with the kicker, go with Andy Borregales.
There you go.
Yes, I mean, he was the first to do individual drills. He was kicking field goals from all sorts of lengths. He nailed a 65-yarder during the Pro Day warm-up, and the scouts, after he kept kicking, they kept pushing it back further and further. He missed a couple in the 50-yard range, but when he hit the 65-yarder, you were able to just see the silence from shock, and then a round of applause from the roar from his teammates who were on the other side of their indoor practice facility. It was just, us who were here and up close got to watch Andy Borregales throughout his 4 years at UM, and even before that when he was at Champagnat and Chaminade. And just watching how
no, I was kidding.
I had to throw that in there for you, Jared. I had to throw the Champagnat
there you go.
plug in there. But we've seen just how much he's grown and how steady he's been over his 4 years. I mean, again, like Restrepo and like Cam Ward, Andy Borregales set records here. He set the school record for I believe he ended up setting the record for career points. He ends up finishing up in the top 5 for field goals made, for single season points, yada, yada, yada. The list goes on and on. I know kickers don't always get drafted, but he's definitely got to be top 1, top 2 among this class in terms of kickers. And then when you look at some of the other guys in terms of just some of the metrics.
Before people are wondering, 66 is the NFL record, Justin Tucker. So shows you right there that he has that kind of range potential at the next level. So go on.
Yeah, no doubt. And then just a few of the guys from some of the metric things. Simeon Barrow, 32 reps on the bench press. That just, I heard that number, 32 reps at 225. Again, he was a big man. We saw how much of an impact he made on the interior of that Hurricanes defensive line in his 1 year at UM. That shows the sense of his size and strength. A few of the other guys, I mean, Francisco Malinoa, he's impressed me. He's been one of the guys who's been trending in the right direction from the Shrine Bowl to the Combine to now a pro day. He's going to be a guy who, again, he's not going to be part of the top tier group, but again, a guy who's going to hear his name called either late day 2 or somewhere in day 3. And then try and think, and then a guy to go with Jalen Rivers as well on the offensive line. Just, we saw how valuable he was for the Hurricanes playing left tackle, but his versatility along the offensive line is something that NFL teams are definitely praising him for. He could play left tackle. He can play guard. He could be a swing man, whether they want him in one position or wanted to see how he can handle both. And that's definitely something that teams have been praising him for. And then lastly, I'm going to go with the guy who's been one of the biggest risers in Elijah Arroyo at tight end, where some people have even been saying late first round, but it seems like second round is probably more of the range for him.
Like
but
high second round, maybe.
I would say high to mid second round would probably be somewhere, just depending on who's drafting where. But just the fact for him, just considering the journey he went through, missing so much time with those knee injuries, to be able to have that breakout season last year and then to back it up during the Senior Bowl in particular was where he really made strides. And to see how he's doing well in the interview portions of it and the behind the scenes aspects of it. So to see him just get rewarded for persevering and getting through that journey, that's a success story for me that I'm really happy to see.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be good to see him. I mean, there's always a good need for tight ends in the NFL. I mean, hey, Travis Kelce might be retiring soon. And the Chiefs are picking and the Chiefs have a late first round pick. Just saying, maybe you never know. I'm just saying, like, teams will, but wherever he ends up going, again, another guy who could probably fill out a pass catching core for some team. And especially he's in that interesting spot, like you said. I mean, if he does move up just enough to maybe sneak in right at the end of the first round and goes to a team that's already an established contender, or if he goes to another, but that would be interesting. That would definitely be interesting if that did happen. But that's a lot of draft talk, a lot of guys that to keep an eye on in the next month or so. Obviously, everyone's going to be inundated with mock drafts left and right in the coming weeks, and we'll see where kind of all these Canes end up, fluctuating. Their status goes from here to there, and we'll see where they end up landing once things really get started. But let's talk a little spring football. Canes, the first scrimmage is coming up this weekend, Jordan. So far, in recent practices that you've been to, anything more standing out? I mean, I know Mario's talked a little bit about, taking it slow with some of these younger players, and of course the trenches are seemingly looking pretty good so far, at least from what you can glean out of spring practice.
Yeah, so I'll start with the tempering expectation thing. For that, it's more with, looking at the receiver group in particular. Again, we talked about Xavier Restrepo, Jacoby George, Elijah Arroyo, et cetera, the guys that are losing. And immediately the external expectation is, oh, JoJo Trader, he's going to ball out. He makes everyone sees him make a catch on routes on air from the little bit of time we're able to do everything. And just the hype that comes with that. Mario Cristobal is trying to make sure that the hype and everything, any sort of outside noise isn't getting in their head, just because, again, it's practice right now. They haven't really had their chance to do something in a game yet. Do they expect big things from the JoJo Traders, from the Nye Cars, from the Ray Josephs, and even from the freshmen, the Josh Moores and Malachi Tonys? Of course they do. They recruited them. They brought them into UM for a reason. But until they're actually in the full game setting, until they're making all these plays while it's scripted plays, while it's 11 on 11, while it's in pads, and that's a big thing. They just started doing their in-pad workouts this week. So all of this stuff that's gone on through the first couple weeks has just been either in shirts and shorts or in shells. So once they start going through everything over these next 2 weeks and then ultimately capping with the spring game on April 12th, that's when they'll really start being able to have a true gauge on some of these guys who obviously have big shoes to fill, have roles that they need to start defining. But until they actually start playing in the real game-like settings, Mario Cristobal just wants to pump the brakes on just what might be and what people may already think is coming. And it's a fair assessment. It's a fair thing to do in my mind, just because, again, you want you want them to feel confident, you want them to feel good, but you also don't want them thinking, okay, I'm already here, when they haven't really had that opportunity to showcase and get in that situation yet.
Yeah, no, and you know how it is with the developmental side. You need these guys need the experience too, and they're going to go up against high level competition eventually. You know, not just in the ACC, but some of these non-conference games. I mean, Notre Dame right out of the chute.
Notre Dame in the first 4 weeks are going to be very brutal.
You can't just think, oh, they're immediately just flip the switch. I mean, these guys are going to have to go through it a bit to get to that point. But the talent's there. It just needs time, little by little, to develop. But the trenches is one thing that I think, I think a lot of people want to know, especially on the defensive side of the ball, you know, how that's looking after last year was so bad for that unit. Up front, no, though. I take it back. The secondary was the problem. Up front, no. But can that continue to improve? And then the O-line, of course, how they're going to be able to protect Carson Beck.
Yeah, so with the defensive line, I mean, their main thing is they're basically having to replace their entire interior. Because, again, Simeon Barrow's gone. C.J. Clark is gone. Akeem Mesidor is moving back to the outside. So it's him and Ruben Bain on the outside, which, if both of them are healthy, that's a dangerous 1-2 punch on your edges.
Oh, yeah.
So now they're relying on Louisiana Tech transfer David Blay, Ahmad Moden, who ended up getting into the starting rotation the final couple games. He started against Syracuse and he started in the bowl game. But again, a lot of their reps from last year are guys who were 1-year transfers. So they're once again having to restock the interior. So David Blay, Ahmad Moten, Justin Scott, who was a 5-star recruit who came in, played a little bit last year as a true freshman, but was more special teams and just when guys needed breathers. But those three are the guys who I'm expecting to be the heavy rotation inside. And they've been working with Damian Lewis now for a couple weeks now. Again, hired his defensive tackle coach to work with Jason Taylor on the D-line. And just when you have two guys like that who have 25 years of NFL experience under their belt, it just makes it that much easier for that defensive line to buy into what they're saying, because they've done it. They did it at a high level. And if they know the fact that they know what they're doing, they did it. If you look at a guy and go, Jason Taylor told me to do this, I probably should do this. Or Damian Lewis told me this is how the proper technique is, you should probably do it. So right. The fact that you have those two guys as that 1-2 punch coaching that defensive line, it's been fascinating to watch that, because, I mean, we all know Jason Taylor from down here. He's high energy. He's high octane. I mean, the dude's 50 years old and he's still running and trying to beat the guys to the drills first when they're getting to the line of scrimmage. And he's even said this when we talked with him last week. He was like, I know I'm supposed to be coaching, I'm supposed to be guiding them, but you can't lead from behind. So I feel like I still have to be out front, right out there with them, and basically competing with the guys I'm coaching. Because if not, I don't feel like I'm in the right spot, and I don't feel like I can justify coaching them if I don't feel like I'm in that position to lead them.
Well, remember, he was always regarded in his playing days as one of the guys who kind of, morphed that edge rusher position. Remember, he wasn't, at the time when he came into the league, he wasn't the prototypical guy at that. He was more, a little slender, more athletic, and always one of the more, agile, versatile players in that spot, and led him to a Hall of Fame career. So, and as a coach, I've seen it already, at St. Thomas, he mentored a lot of guys that have gone on and had good careers at the next level. So when you have that, and then as far as Damian Lewis goes, I remember what a badass player he was when he was playing, when this was a reality behind me right here. He was playing on that field, Jordan, when you were in pre-K or whatever grade you were in. I remember watching Damian Lewis play for the Canes. But again, a guy who let's see how much he can do something similar as a coach to bring that insight, bring that experience and knowledge to this current wave of UM players.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And then just to shift to the offensive line. I mean, we talked about it a little bit on the last episode, but yeah, they have the right side of their line is completely intact from last year. Francis Malinois, right tackle, Inez Cooper, right guard. You have Matt McCoy and Ryan Rodriguez, both of whom were here split time at left guard last year. Markel Bell, dude who is pretty sizable at 6'9", who is going to get to be the full-time left tackle this year. He got a lot of good experience last year when, remember, Jalen Rivers got hurt in the Florida game. He missed 5 games after that. Markel Bell started all 5 of those games at left tackle. And then once Jalen Rivers got back, they were so happy with how Markel Bell was doing that they had Jalen Rivers splitting time between left tackle and left guard so that Markel Bell could still get reps at left tackle. And it got to the point where Alex Mirabal pointed out, Jalen Rivers and Markel Bell basically played the same amount of snaps last year. They both played in about the 500 snap range. So it's not like Markel Bell is coming in completely brand new or only coming in with partial experience. He played about as much as their guy who was pegged as their starting left tackle, who's most likely going to be getting drafted next month. So Markel Bell now having a full year of experience, a full year of understanding the speed of playing at the ACC level. Because remember, he came in from a JUCO. He came from a JUCO in Mississippi after. So last year was his first real experience at the FBS level, at the Power 4 level, and learning that you can't just rely on your size. You have to have the technique. You have to learn how to use your body, how to be a little more flexible, and how to use that size. And I think Alex Mirabal said best, he's 6'9", but he had to learn how to play like he's 6'3" or 6'4", and learn how to adjust to the speed of the game and basically try to play a little bit smaller than he is while still using that brute strength that he has. And now that he has a full year of that understanding, it's now just a matter of just continuing to play and to get that full year under his belt.
Yeah, it's interesting when you're that tall, how you have to kind of adjust your body for, because you're going to face shorter defensive rushers and that sort of thing. So you have to, it's kind of, you don't think about it. You think 6'9", you're like, oh, wow, but it is an adjustment. So let's see how that develops as well. But this weekend with the scrimmage, Jordan, what are you kind of looking most to see? Like, what kind of takeaways are you kind of, what do you feel like you can glean from this scrimmage as they get closer and closer to the spring game?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I mean, I'm just going off the assumption based off how most spring and fall scrimmages are. We're probably not going to be there. But
true. But I'm saying, like, what I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing
that being considered, right?
Yeah. My main thing is the main thing I'm hoping to see is basically how much they're going to be able to gauge of what this offense really is. Because again, remember, Carson Beck isn't throwing, so how much are they going to be able to gauge in terms of everybody beyond the quarterback position? How much are they going to truly be able to evaluate what they have? Right. Because again, you're going to have, Emory Williams, Luke Nickel, and Judd Anderson are going to be the guys throwing, but none of them are Carson Beck.
Right. Which is great for them, but not good for the big picture for this season.
Obviously, them getting the experience, getting the chance to work with the ones, it's going to be valuable because who knows what could happen during a season. So them getting that experience, it's valuable, no doubt about it. But how much will, once they go back from the scrimmage, go through the plays and everything, how much will the offense be able to benefit from that? How much will they be able to build on it when Carson Beck does come in? B, how much will Carson Beck be able to gain from watching from the sidelines? How much will he be able to look through all that and go, okay, they're doing this, would this work when I'm out there? When I'm out there, would I want this receiver to be do this with his route? Would I want the running back to be doing this when it comes to pass protection? Would I want X, Y, and Z? And then on the flip side, just figuring out the defense, them figuring out their configuration, everything. This is going to be the first live setting for them under new defense coordinator Corey Heatherman, and just seeing how he's going to start defining roles, because a lot of the guys in the secondary in particular, they've been basically repping everywhere. Zachariah Poyser, when we talked with him last week, he said that while he's primarily safety, he's been getting some reps in nickel. He's been getting some reps in the boundary corner role. They've been trying to basically cross-train as many of the guys in the secondary as possible to make sure that if something happens like last year where they had the injuries and then their cornerback depth just became non-existent, that they have backup plans and they have contingencies in place. So it'll be interesting to see what they do from that standpoint, who ends up starting to separate themselves, because they have a lot of new guys, and especially in that secondary, they have a lot of new guys, and it's figuring out who's going to be in those top units, who's going to be in the secondary, who's going to be the secondary guys in the secondary, to use a bad term and phrase with just me rambling with myself right now. But it's going to be interesting to see how they start figuring out depth chart as they go through there on the defense.
Yeah, and a lot of this, like you said, especially in that close, even if it wasn't a close setting, but a lot of this is going to change. A lot of this, like you said, with no Beck there throwing the ball, we're not going to know a lot of this till at least fall practice, if that. A lot of it's going to be
personnel is going to change between now and fall as well. Again,
exactly.
The second transfer portal as well. So a lot of these guys, we could think, wow, player A, B, and C, who we weren't really sure about, really stepping up. They're really doing impact. Oh, they realize they're going to get playing time elsewhere. We can see a lot of moving parts between now and the fall.
Yeah. a lot of this is just reps for a lot of the new guys, getting a little more comfortable in the program, getting a little comfortable in the system, things like that. This is little breadcrumbs for now until we get to later on. And the most important thing, knock on wood, obviously with everything, is avoid any setbacks as far as physical setbacks right now. Even though we're still months away from the season, you don't want to see anybody get anything bad happen to them right now in this like controlled setting right now. But yeah, I mean, I know fans are hungry for any little bit that they can get, and we'll see when that when the little bit of highlights come out from the closed session that we could actually see, and little bits will get leaked out, I'm sure, here and there, but we won't truly know, like you said, until the fall, kind of how this team looks going into that Notre Dame game. But hey, you do what you can, and for those that are dying to know right now, we'll see how it goes in the scrimmage. Jordan and I will be back next week to talk about that session and talk about where the team's at and going forward. Maybe if there's any other things going on as far as the draft or beyond, or maybe even anything beyond the football team. We'll probably circle around and kind of see how that baseball team is doing by that point as well, after they came off.
And some clarity on basketball as well, because we got the portal too.
The coaching staff, right? And the complete coaching staff as Jai Lucas starts to build that together, to put that together going in the next season as well. And the Canes baseball team, we know a couple tough ones. They got blown out the first game, came back and beat the Seminoles in the second game, and then couldn't pull out that third one against FSU. But they have a series this weekend at North Carolina, so we'll see how they're doing by then. But until then, thank you for watching Eye on the U. Remember, catch us on YouTube, catch us at MiamiHerald.com. We appreciate you, as always, watching this show and tuning in. For Jordan McPherson, I'm Andre Fernandez. We'll see you next week.